Cisco mute. There you go. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. 8 o'clock on the dot. Look at there. At least that's what I have. I can't say we're all synchronized, but that's okay. If you aren't, if you're a little early, a little late, as long as you're here. So, what's going on? Got my computer going back up. Somehow it went back to factory default, lost everything. Found it tucked in the back somewhere, pulled it all together. Now I got 4 things open. Don't know what to do. I'm scared to hit a button, but we're going to try to get through this. I love y'all for being here. If you haven't subscribed, please do. You're missing great things like Dr. Epperly and the Villisca Axe Murder series. You're missing the Lizzie Borden series. You're missing all the Dogmen with Ron Murphy and witches and vampires and wonderful times with Steve Stockton, a fantastic author. You guys know him. But for those of you who do not, you're missing a lot there. Wonderful books. No, don't change my computer. It's doing it again, folks. It's crazy. It's like somebody's here hitting the screen. Could be. Anything can happen tonight because we got 2 wonderful people on. So just to push through it fast, if you haven't subscribed, please do. You're missing great shows. Glad to have you here. Hope everybody is well, happy, holding it together through this holiday crazy train we're on. And glad you're here tonight because you're going to pick up some great vibes and some great subjects and fantastic stories. And I cannot wait. But I also want to thank everybody who has given super chats, and thank you for the ones that have given them on the videos after they load. They're in the live column on YouTube, and I appreciate you doing that. I know it's rough times for everybody, so it means even more when somebody reaches out, whatever, $1, $5, $10. I mean, it's amazing when people do that, and I don't want to miss any of you, but sometimes the chat will go, it'll disappear, and I may miss it, or I was in the middle of a conversation with somebody, or they were talking and I didn't get to thank you enough. So if I've missed you and you send it in PayPal, every bit of it goes right back into this show so we can come together every Sunday and Monday and talk about these wonderful subjects. So without further ado, tonight I have for you 2 wonderful gentlemen, and one of them you know very well. He is an author. He has multiple YouTube channels. He has fantastic the stories. I never get tired of talking to this man. He's got radio shows that's doing great that I've been a guest on. And see, it's doing it again. So are we still here? Are we still 5-5 mods? I think we're good. So if you haven't met Steve Stockton, please do tonight and come back on tomorrow night when we're talking some kind of gibberish that we always have a blast doing. So without further ado, let's get this old rattlesnake out of the tall grass where he is. And I hope he's warm tonight. Are you having storms, my love?
Yeah, well, they're saying like 5 inches of rain here in my part of New England tonight. That's a lot of rain.
Dude, it could
There's
have been
a
snow.
flood watch out. Yeah, well, we would have preferred snow actually, but I'm happy with the rain. I like bad weather. Nicole does too. So
Yeah. Do
is
you
what it
thunder and
is. But
lightning as well, or
no, it's
very
just rain. I wish it did become a big thunder boomer. But
well? At
say
least
hi to
it's not
Nicole.
very
She's
cold
in the
because.
chat there.
Hi, Nick. Hi, baby. How you
Yeah,
doing,
the
sweetie? Hugs,
couple
hugs,
days
hugs.
last week, I got up. It was in the 20s. Mulder was a
Mm.
little reticent to go out, but
Just
got
got
him to
little
go out
rain
there.
boots.
And today he went out, did his business, came right back in because it was raining. So he's a little old man, so he gets kind of particular
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
But
Oh, I saw a great tickety talk or a shorty or whatever you want to call it. And the guy knew it was going to snow and threw out a blanket and a tarp. And then when his dog had to go, he just rolled that blanket tarp back, had clean grass to go in, and went right back in the house again. That's love right there.
I like that.
So think about that. I mean, it'll probably work. And if you don't have that, if you've got one of those windshield frost covers or whatever,
Yeah, well,
but
we've got a back porch here that's covered. I took him out there. He just will not go out there. He's too well
yeah, yeah,
housebroken to go anywhere like
yeah.
that. But
So try that with the blanket and the tarp and the grass and be set up, ahead of time.
yeah, might
And then
try
you just roll it
that.
back and you got grass or whatever,
Yeah.
It's
And now he likes
sometimes
the
you find some
snow.
interesting
When it
things.
does snow, he'll get out in the snow, and he's kind of surprised when he first sees it. Then he jumps out in it and does the dolphin hopping thing. Like
Yeah, yeah. Listen, chat, we're gonna say hi to everybody in here. No, why is it now it's blinking oh geez.
Nicole, Midnight
There
Society.
you
They're
gone
sending your
again.
love. I love you too, sweetheart. We're rolling up on our 5-month anniversary in 3 days.
Wow, Steve.
December 13th. It'll be 5 months. It doesn't
Oh
seem possible in
gosh.
some ways, and in other ways, it seems like we've been married for a long, long time. She's my best friend too, so it's awesome.
Yes, it is good. Are you getting me clear? Because I've got this screen popping up again. My stuff is going so weird, guys. I
Yeah,
apologize
you
if
look
it
fine on this, and that computer's probably been going around. I had a hard drive crash, a
I don't
catastrophic
know.
one a few weeks ago.
There.
Lost
Okay.
years and years worth of stuff
All
that
right.
I didn't
Well,
have
before
backed
we
up in
lose
the
him,
cloud. So
we might lose this gentleman before we even get him on. So, do
come
you
on
have
in
any?
here.
I have a lovely bio for Mr. Strickler, and I'll tell you what. If you don't know Lon Strickler, then you're not paranormal. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
what to say. But just in case you don't know who he is. He is a Fortean researcher, an author, a publisher of syndicated Phantoms and Monsters blog. Now I'm telling you what, Steve,
good stuff over there.
right. He's
Now,
been on
I've been on
multiple.
Lon's show. I've been on other shows with Lon. And when my first book, Strange Things in the Woods, came out, I went on Lon's. I think he had a call-in show or something back then. I called
Well,
in and read a story. So thanks, Lon.
yep. And I mean, multiple TV shows, Fact or Fake, to Paranormal Files, and so many other things. Let's get in here, honey. How are you? Welcome, Mr. Strickler. I'm sorry you were sitting through that intro. He's gonna leave before he gets here.
Yeah. Yeah, don't call me Mister and make me order what I am. Just call me Lon.
Pleasure
It's good
meeting
to be
you.
on. Nice
Pleasure
to meet
meeting
you
you.
too.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for
Hey,
coming on.
Steve,
And
how you doing?
there you
Good,
go.
Lon. Good to see you're looking healthy too. Glad to see you
Yeah.
back in action there. A lot of thoughts and prayers went up for you for a while there, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that.
God bless you.
We got through everything. Okay.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I recognize some of that lovely art you got behind you. It's wonderful. What a fantastic world we're in, Lon. And I just want to hand this over to you and Steve. And I mean, there's so many things going on. I mean, it's so different than it's the same as 50 years ago. Steve and I talk about this all the time, and yet different in so many ways. We're at the level here. We don't ask, do these things exist? We know they do. It's just, what do we know now? What have we figured out? And it's just an amazing subject and so many different things. I don't know where you guys want to dive in, but Steve, take the reins.
Oh gosh, I don't even know where to begin. As Charles Fort once wrote, one measures a circle beginning anywhere. So that's kind of the way we'll take it here. We'll always end up back in the same place. And Cisco, you and I have talked about this. I have more questions than I started with. And anymore, I'm not looking for answers. I'm looking for the next set of questions. And that's half the fun. If we had all the answers, and I think Lon would agree, the journey wouldn't have been near as much fun as it has been.
Yeah, it keeps us busy. There's no doubt about that. And as far as the paranormal and cryptids and all this other stuff, it's never going to go be a moot point. Something will fade away, then something will take its place. So, yeah, I mean, it keeps us busy. I mean, if we didn't love doing this, we just wouldn't. We just wouldn't
keeps
do
us
it.
off the street, doesn't it, Lon?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have to explain something real quick before he misunderstands anyway. I hope you don't mind getting hit with bacon. Bacon is love here, so you're going to get a lot of bacon slung at you. So if you're by
Okay.
any chance offended by that, we could also throw in some broccoli, just so you know. They're all saying hello and love you, and hello to everybody in here, Monica and Lindsay and all the great mods. Chris, it's good to see you. Ted was in here. Grandpa C. Everybody's popping in to say hello. Again, if we miss you tonight, I know you're there. We're going to bring you in and put your comments on the screen as we go along, and of course, questions for Lon.
Yeah,
but I'm going to let them go ahead and
say hi to all my crowd. I had a bunch of these people over on my channel earlier. I had a 6-hour live stream that I did over there just to chill and chat and showed some videos and stuff. I shouted you out big time, but a lot of people came over, so good to see you here. Our
good to see y'all. Thanks for coming over.
Overlap, so I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's great to help. It's like buying local. It's like go over and support everybody's channel. We're all interested in this stuff, and I mean, you're not going to find two gentlemen that know more about these subjects than what's sitting here tonight. Now, I'm going to make a confession. I'm a ghost girl, so I mean, I spent most of my life trying to understand that world, and then I just assumed being Native American, having a lot of women in my family, little bits at a time, giving me little things like, don't go in the there's certain things live in the woods that we don't speak of because they'll hear you. So that's the kind of world I grew up in. So it was never a question for me, Lon, but it's not something I know a lot about, like different folklores and things, of course, elementals and all this other stuff. It's just I don't think you can know it all. I'm just getting bits and pieces and loving it all.
You see here on your screen, we represent about 150 years worth of experience here. So there you go.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's no experts in the paranormal and the cryptids. There's no doubt about that. We're always learning something every day. So, yeah, I mean,
Absolutely. So here's the thing. Steve and I had just to kind of kickstart. We kind of delved into the Bigfoot, taking that approach with, again, Sabe, whatever. Every Native American culture, at least around here, throughout the Americas, have a name for them, and they treat it's more, Lon, it seems that most of the words they have for them translate to something more like the people, or the wild man, hairy man, the people of the woods, different things like this, all the way peppered through. So again, we approach it as no different than, oops, I lost you again. Can you guys? Okay. There is something touching my screen and moving stuff. Both my hands are here, and it's going to be a crazy night. I'm sorry, but we're just going to keep rolling. Oh, there it goes again. See, I'm not touching a thing. Both look, it's nuts.
But anyway, ghost host with her tonight.
It could be. So we went all the way back and to 1970s, early 1970s documentary. I can't remember what it was. Wasn't Peter Graves hosting it or something? And they had the 4 Bigfoot hunters around the picnic table on, and each one had 25 years experience, 18 years experience, and they're all arguing what to do if they ever caught one, or how far would they go to catch one, and what would they do with it if they had, they all had. But here's the thing, same about evidence, same about level of understanding, really, out of the individual hunters. And then we shoot 50 years later, what more do we know? Whereas I'm thinking, I'm starting to hear peppered things like definitely telepathic, definitely in some, even maybe some radioactivity, in and out of portals, interdimensional, some stayed, some different species, evolution, territory, culture. Speak on that a bit and tell us where you're at with the whole, where Bigfoot and the different types, and how many different kinds are there?
Well, I do believe that there's a supernatural aspect to Bigfoot. Is it interdimensional? Is it an ultra terrestrial? Is it something? It's just something other than just indigenous. And I do believe there are actual indigenous beings, Pacific Northwest, Florida, around the Gulf, those areas. I mean, they do live there. But I think for the majority of the United States and Canada and other places where people have seen them worldwide, I think they do come and go. And I think they do have an ability to be corporeal, but I think they have the ability to move in and out of either portals or some type of unseen gateway. And I think it's just not the Bigfoot that do that. I think the most cryptids have that ability. I've been looking into this whole cryptid thing since 1980 or 1981 when I had my encounter, and I do believe as time has gone by that there is a supernatural something about them. And I think as well, I think a lot of people who do investigate these beings now, even a lot of people who have been doing it for a long time have started to become more open-minded about it and do believe that there is something else to them.
I'm doing my best to keep my mouth shut, Steve. I gotta mute myself twice just to be sure.
Mute
I got
yourself twice.
Lon doesn't
You
know.
mute twice, and the second one's unmuted. But there you go.
It's crazy, right?
But
I
yeah,
have
agree with
paranormal
Lon.
Tourette.
These things
I can't help
move around. Cisco, you and I have talked about that, and there's different varieties of it. Just like there's different types of dogs, there's different types of squirrels. Even there's different shades, different sizes, different shapes of them, if you will. But they're out there across all cultural boundaries and throughout the world. There's just, but again, I agree. There's certainly a supernatural element, but they exist too on this plane. I think they can move in and out of this plane at will.
Mm-hmm. I agree across the board. And also, and again, this is just, theory and speculation. I'm fighting this computer. If you're wondering what I'm doing, all these things are popping up. Cancel, trying to keep it going. This is nuts. But across the board. And here too, it's just like ghosts. If you think about it, bear with me a second. Everybody likes to put ghosts in a box. It's Joe that died in a tractor accident in the backyard. He just comes and goes throughout the kitchen, and we just know it's Joe, and that's it. They don't realize that there's so many different, it's as individual as the person. There's so many different levels of, what do they understand? What can they do? What do they know they can do? Where are they in their head? Where were they when they died? All these different aspects. Same with Bigfoot. If you think about it, everything you said, Lon, different ones, different places. Some can come and go. Some decided to stay. Some are probably more primal than others. Some are more accommodating and probably live right outside the woodline boundary of, multiple, name your village or tribe throughout time, anywhere in the world. And also ones that come and go, and indigenous, there's so many different types, again, affected by culture, surroundings, geography, all of it, and what they choose. So like you have the human aspect of, we can't not mess with everything, human beings. Look what we've done to dogs and cats and short legs and no tails and altered plants and flowers. And I'm a floral designer, so I can tell you how flowers have changed. What if we got a hold of something and started working with it like a super soldier, or, we turn everything into a weapon? And then what if, that's out there released too? So you've got your natural progression and all the shifts and different types and abilities and what they use, because we certainly are human species, but some of us have more telepathic abilities and more sixth sense abilities. Why wouldn't they, if that's what how they were raised to emphasize, all of those things. But then you put the human element in it and start messing around with Bigfoot, or say a dogman species or something like that. Are you hearing things like that and connections with dogman, Bigfoot, and maybe even UFO sightings? Are you hearing any of that kind of stuff? Can you speak on that a little?
I've been hearing that for years now. I mean, I believe that the paranormal in general, in all aspects of it, have there's a fine line. There's a connection between all these things. And
absolutely.
When I do I've been working in the paranormal since the mid 70s. I had my first, I'm an intuitive and I'm a clairsentient, and I've experienced a lot of things even as a kid. And when I started out in the mid 70s in high school and started doing investigations, when paranormal investigators were just looked at as being nuts, and I kind of worked on that, and I still do a lot of infestations, hauntings, and such, and so I'm kind of old school when it comes to that, but I do realize that there is a connection between everything, and it's very rare, especially today, because more people are open minded to it, that when you do get a call about something and you look into it, invariably you will find something else that's involved with it, even though the witness just doesn't feel that it may have been part of the actual sighting or encounter they had. And if you keep looking into it, usually something else pops up. And I'd say 90% of the cases are like that.
Steve, what you got, bud?
I have to unmute myself first.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I agree. It's all connected. There's a common factor in all of them, whether it's a ghost or cryptid or UFO. It's all connected. That's the only way I can describe it. And the more you look into it, the more you see those links, and almost like the ley lines and things that are popular in the UK. Things seem to follow along a path here, and a lot of times where you have sighting one, you'll have a sighting of another. Particularly UFOs and Bigfoot, they seem to go hand in hand. I spent some time up on Mount Shasta, and that whole area is just a hotbed of UFO sightings and Bigfoot sightings, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, Syfy.
Right. I've had the Conleys on here, Tom and John, and I think his dad, Tim, has spent about the same amount, 50 years, something. Same thing, connecting the Bigfoot sightings to the UFOs. But I agree with both of you 100% as far as everything being connected, whether it's, I'm starting to see these things too. Same, Lon, stuff as a kid, earliest memories, ghosts, haunted farmhouse, 200-year-old farmhouse in Jackson, New Jersey, right in the middle of all the Revolutionary battles and skirmishes. We had soldiers walking through there, all kinds of stuff going on. So that's how long. And I looked around for what the heck is going on. Couldn't talk to anybody. Found Hans Holzer, that type of, Fate magazine and things like that. Just like all of us in this age group, going through. And again, now I'm at this level of looking at things like, I'm trying to figure out why the ghost that I saw, the head that flew at me at the farmhouse, had red eyes. And it wasn't red eyes like you and I have eyes. It was like a light coming at, like an angry light. And even as a kid, I picked up, dude, he's angry. I could tell he was upset. It's what the feeling you got off of it. Shoot, to just last week, I'm hearing a guy, I can't remember. I think he's a tracker for decades in British Columbia, and goes big, takes out hunters and stuff. I forget what you call, guide. And now he's starting to put all the Bigfoot stuff together, and they're talking about the dogmen with the glowing eyes. But again, more of an energy feel. Same thing, and you're hearing from tribes and villagers around there. Let's just say dispersed Native Americans, talking about, well, if they have the orangey yellow, they're concerned. If it's red, they're angry. I mean, it's almost like spoken of like it's, common knowledge. Are you hearing anything about this? I'm starting to put together, like you said, everything's connected. So why wouldn't it be the same if we're all energy and we're all using energy, and energy is manifesting and showing it to ourselves in these same patterns, like through ghosts, maybe even orbs, colored orbs, to these colors that these we're hearing about, the eyes, like from dogmen and from, I've never heard it from a Bigfoot till recently, but the dogmen I've heard about. What do you think?
Well,
Wild.
yeah, I mean, I've probably heard every color in the book as far as eye color with a lot of these things. The one thing that has been showing up more and more recently, I'd say, when I say recently, I say the last several years, but is orb activity with cryptids, and we're getting more and more of that. Even when an individual a witness would contact one of the investigators, and they'd go out to the location a couple of days later, and they'd be picking up on orb activity. What's causing? Is it a portal opening up? Is it just some type of residual energy from the creature that was there? Is it the creature cloaking itself? It could be a whole lot of different things. But but that's why we do what we do. I mean, we're trying to figure a lot of this out. A lot of that existential evidence was kind of ignored years ago, but people who are especially people who are getting into it more now, are new to it, or are starting to deep dive into it. They're seeing the same thing. I hear a lot of different things from people. I mean, every day I'm hearing this, and that, and it's almost to the point now where it's really hard to keep track of. But we do hear all kinds of strange things. Sure, there's some people are going to embellish on things. You got to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff. But you do get a lot of different things that do kind of that do repeat themselves. It's just like what's been going on with our investigations with Chicago winged humanoids. Very similar sightings, very similar evidence. And though it's anecdotal for the most part, people have been seeing the same thing now for many, many years. We're on our 11th year with this investigation, so or 12th year actually. So yeah,
I totally forgot all about that. I'm so interested in that. I talked to Jeremy Enflinger, was in here, talked about it because he had seen one.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, Lon. I don't mean to step on what you were saying,
No,
but
go
I'm
ahead.
so interested in this. Are you getting facial features from any of these humanoids? Are you getting reports of that, or faceless characters that seem to be telepathic and know when you see them? Are they responding in any kind of intelligent way?
We do get some facial features. For the most part, it's pretty benign. Of course, we have the red eyes for the most part. I'd say about 70% of those have the red eyes. We have had blue and green eyes too further north. But facial features, yeah, sometimes there's features very similar to human features, but other times it's very minimal as far as features go. It's not like what people described at Point Pleasant with the Mothman, where it's got the insect-like head to the body. These creatures in the Chicagoland area have smaller heads, but their bodies are emaciated looking. They're usually very dark, sometimes shiny, like they're wet. And the wings, I mean, we've had a variety of wing styles, but as time has gone on, the majority of the wings have been a membrane wing, very similar to bats and gargoyle-like wings. But all in all, they've been pretty similar. It kind of comes and goes. The sightings kind of increase and wane off a bit. This year, we've had 6 sightings this year, which is kind of on the low side. But I truly believe that there's a good possibility it'll pick up again. I mean, it's done this before.
Yeah.
You know, we had the sightings in 2011. There were 3 sightings in South Chicago. Then we had like a 4 or 5 year period until 2017 when it just exploded. We had 55 sightings in 2017, and it's gone from there. I mean, to the point where we're at 168 what we believe viable sightings at this point.
Yeah. Does it seem to go up and down? Of course, now the amount of sightings we can only assume, and again, all this is this whole thing, is like theory and speculation and trying to sort data and common sense and everything else. But you got to throw the darts, man. So, Steve and I have talked about this in the past. And I'm one of those, I absolutely believe that bad gets bad and negative energy is brought to negative energy. Look what's going on in Chicago. Now, is there any kind of thing as far as assuming that you're getting just, not everybody calls in who sees something. Okay,
right.
So there's more. That's just a good guess, hypothesis. So are you seeing any kind of escalation in, like, say, the violence as well as sightings?
I don't see any connection at all. I mean,
Okay.
I the harbinger or portent of doom thing. I don't see any connection to that at all. I don't think. Sure, big cities have a lot of violence. Chicago's one of the bigger cities and has a lot of violence, but I don't think there's any correlation between the sightings and the violence there. And this is something we've been keeping close track of. We just don't see anything. Any type of activity that is associated with these beings, other than people are seeing them, they're scared to death many times. It freaks them out, but they're not aggressive for the most part, and they just don't seem to be. We're at a kind of a point where we just don't really know why they're showing up, though. I do believe they're interdimensional. I don't believe that they are here for a long period of time. I think the sightings are very fleeting, to the point where people can't even get a cell phone out and take a picture of it. They're so quick. They're so fast. But the descriptions of these things and the actual, when you talk to the witnesses and their actual their reactions are very profound. So, just by the way they talk that they've seen something. And for the most part, even now, they had never heard of the Chicago Mothman or the winged humanoid phenomenon in Chicago. And many times they'll see it and they'll go on Google and my name will pop up or Tobias's name will pop up and they will contact us. And when we tell them, well, this has been going on for almost 10 years now. And it's like, well, I had no idea.
And do you think you're seeing an increase, like in the last? You said you've been working on this project about 12 years. Have you seen a marked increase in it, Lon? Does it seem like it's more frequent or less frequent or about the same? Or
it wanes on and off. I mean, compared to 2017, I don't think we're ever going to have anything compared to that period of time.
55.
Yeah,
it was just going
crazy.
We were getting 2, 3, 4 a week, and
flap, no pun intended there.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was so bad. Now, I was literally getting phone calls from people who didn't even have sightings, especially in July and August of 2017, who were calling me at home and wondering what was going to happen, that all these sightings were coming, and what the harbinger. They were scared that something major was going to happen. And it was 24/7 with that. I mean, people were scared. And, but we have continued to look at that, and we just don't see any correlation between the sightings and any type of violence or any activity or anything. I mean, I'm not saying it won't happen.
2017 was pretty violent, though, wasn't that when everybody
Well,
was
yeah,
all the
I mean,
town, everything was on fire? We had all that stuff going on. Like I can't pinpoint it exactly. Was it 16 or 17? I think. So I'm trying to think. It was like after. Or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, why just there? I mean, are we getting reports of these in any other states or cities or?
Yeah, this
more
phenomenon
there.
is a worldwide phenomenon. We've had them down in Florida, Texas, here in Pennsylvania. The area where I live at, there have been several sightings of winged humanoids. I had a winged humanoid encounter in '88.
Did you tell us about it? Tell us what you saw.
Well,
can you?
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, it was 1988. I was living in Baltimore. I'd lived in Baltimore for about 40 years till I moved back up here. I live just outside of Gettysburg now. And I was
beautiful.
I went to school here, and I grew up here, and I used to spend a lot of time on the battlefield as a kid. I was a little history nerd, and you know, it wasn't really because of the hauntings and everything, because people didn't really talk about a lot of that back in the 60s and 70s. But anyway, I was at Timonium, Maryland, which is outside of Baltimore. It's where they have the state fair every year. And there were actually, I was actually flea marketing, and there was a lot of stuff going on there. But they had some type of scout gathering or jamboree or something. So I actually walked through there, and I came across a buddy of mine who I went to school with here in Pennsylvania. And he was a scout leader, and he and I were in Boy Scouts together. We both were Eagle Scouts together, and we used to spend a lot of time on the battlefield when we were kids. So anyway, we hadn't seen each other for about a dozen years. So we just went and had some lunch, talked a bit. He knew I was into the paranormal from when we were kids. And when we were talking, he mentioned to me, he said, look, me and another scout leader are going to be going up the old Camp Conawago. And there's been something going on up there all summer. Now, I met him, it was in the fall when we met. It was in early October. He said, all summer long, the troops have been getting run out of there because they've been hearing these screaming sounds in the woods. And they'd be scared, pack up, and leave. It was happening all summer long. He said, me and this other gentleman are going to go up there, and we're going to camp out for the weekend, next weekend, and see if we can find anything. And he said, are you interested in going? I said, sure. That was a time when I didn't mind sleeping on the ground and not worried about having to be able to get up, because I can't do it now. But anyway, I said, okay. So we met up there at the old Camp Conawago. I've spent a lot of time up there as a kid. So we met, place looked the same. And we got together, hiked into the woods, set up camp. And by the time we were all set up, it was a Friday. It was about 6 o'clock, started to get dark, and we just stuck around the campsite that night. Nothing happened, of course. And, but in the next morning when we woke up, we all had 3 separate tents. The other guy mentioned, he said, did you hear anything walking around in the campsite? And I said, yeah, I did. I heard something walking around. I thought it was one of you guys going in the woods to relieve yourself or whatever. But he said, no, none of us. It was none of us. But nothing was awry in the campsite. Nothing was moved or anything. So we just didn't think about it. So we were going to spend most of the day in the woods hiking around and seeing if we could pick up on anything. We were out. Oh God, we were out a long time. We were out about 10 hours, and we got back that evening, I guess about 6 o'clock again. It was just starting to it was dusk. And we were sitting around the campfire eating a bit and drinking coffee and talking. And I guess we sat there for several hours. It was probably about 10, maybe 10:30 or so. And we heard a scream. Now, look, animals make a lot of screaming sounds, and it could have been, and I'll be honest with you, it wasn't really that loud or that terrifying. It could have been any animal. A lot of wildlife there. So we kind of discounted it and didn't pay it any mind. So we just continued sitting around the campfire, talking football and whatever we talked about. I guess about an hour later, then we heard this scream. And I mean, this scream was blood curdling. It literally sounded like a female or a child screaming, to the top of their lung capacity. And it was really loud. And it seemed like it was kind of moving around in the forest, like it was either flying or running around and moving around. And it kept going in and out and in and out. So we decided that, we're going to stay up for the night and see what shows up. So we sat around there and we were waiting. I guess about 1 o'clock in the morning, my legs were getting sore. So I got up and walked around, just stretched my legs. And I stepped out onto the trail, which was right between the creek and our campsite. And I just had this strange feeling. I mean, I didn't, how you get a strange feel, like something I'd be watching you or something's out. So I went back and walked back to the campsite. And I told him, look, let's grab our flashlights and go out onto the trail. I mean, nothing else going on to see if we see anything. Okay. So we got up. So we walked out onto the trail, and the creek is to our right. And we get about 50 foot away. I mean, not far from the campsite. We're walking back to back, and then we see this thing. Something is standing in the middle of the creek, and the creek was really low this time of year. We had a pretty bright moon that night, but we saw these two red illuminating eyes. And I'm saying, when you say red, it was projecting light. It wasn't reflecting light. It was projecting light. And by the time we got our flashlights on this thing, it literally jettisoned itself into the air. And when it got to its apex, it left out that hellish scream and then took off in the air. Well, we were all freaked out, and we ran back. We ran back to the campsite, and we were sitting there, and my buddy isn't talking. He's freaked. So the other guy mentioned to me, did you see something on its back? And I did. I saw some type of structure on its back, but I never saw any wings or anything unfurl. When this thing took off, it was a literal whooshing sound when it took off. And but the wings never unfurled. So we didn't know what that was all about. We tried to get my friend to talk. He wasn't talking. Well, he eventually piped up and said, I'm not sticking around here tonight. I'm going up the administration building and sleep up there. Okay. Well, he and his buddy went up there. He and the other guy went up there and stayed the night. I stayed at the campsite. I wanted to see this thing, but nothing showed up that night. So anyway, 20 years later, and I hadn't told many people about this whole encounter. I had been doing the blog for about 3 or 4 years. And I decided, I'm going to write something up about this encounter we had at Camp Conewaga. So I wrote it up. I put it in the blog. And not long after, I got an email from a guy up at Dick's Dam, which is very near the campsite. And he told me, he said, I've heard something screaming up here for the last 20 years, and I had no idea what it was. I said, well, okay, that's good. Maybe it was the same thing. But then I got another email about a week or so later from a scout leader who had just been up to Camp Conewaga that during, maybe a month or so previous to that. He said, you know what? I don't know if this is what they saw, but the boys on the troop, it was a Saturday, they were out on the trail, walking up and down the trail, just being kids. And they came running and screaming back to the campsite, which was actually on the other side of the complex. And they were scared to death. He said they told me that they saw a dragon out on the trail. And of course, the scout leader thought they were just pulling his leg, but they were dead serious. And he said, I kind of just didn't think anything of it. But since I read your account, maybe they did see something. Well, as years have gone by now, we've had about 5 or 6 sightings reported along Conewaga Creek. Now, Conewaga Creek, it kind of goes a bit west and it heads east and empties into the Susquehanna. But we've had several sightings along the creek at the whole distance of the creek. And one of my colleagues, Timothy Renner, who's been looking at Fortean subjects, encrypted subjects for a long time. He's got a research area just very near the Conewago Creek area where it empties into Susquehanna, and he's seen a few things too. And we've had other sightings of these winged creatures. So we've also had sightings in other parts of this South Central Pennsylvania area. So yeah, they are around here.
Mm-hmm.
But the sighting we had, very similar to what's been seen in Chicago. Yeah. Very similar, very emaciated looking, dark colored.
Same thing with something on its back. But are you thinking that it was something? You said somebody you were with said, "Did you see a structure on his back?" You thought maybe were they leaning towards that? They thought it was like folded up wings, or was he carrying something like he maybe was carrying away water or something along those lines? You know,
well,
like
what I saw looked like what I saw looked like folded extended wings that went up over the top. They were large wings, but they were folded. They never unfurled. If those things would have unfurled, I'd have seen it. Because there was enough moonlight, and of course we had the flashlights on there. We'd have seen it. But this is another aspect of the Chicago sightings that people are telling us, that they see these things flying without flapping their wings many times, and people have seen them literally jettison into the air without unfurling wings. So there's something supernatural about it, let alone the red projecting light, eyes projecting light. So yeah, I mean, it's very similar to what we encountered. And of course, when all this started, and I had to look into it because I had to try to figure out what this is. And of course I had my encounter and what's going on in Chicago. And we would have never dreamed that these sightings would have kept going the way they have. And in fact, I never even called it the Mothman. That the press did that different. Actually. Well, yeah, it's different. And what happened was when the Chicago press got a hold of it, they started calling it the Mothman, kind of relating it to what happened at Point Pleasant. I was calling it the Chicago Phantom. I didn't know what the hell it was. But, when they started using the Mothman moniker and everybody was referring to the Mothman, I went ahead and went along with it, frankly, because I didn't want to cause any confusion. So that's where we have been. That's basically it in a nutshell. But we've had sightings within 250-mile radius of the city, up into Milwaukee area, down into middle Illinois, down into middle Indiana, even a few of them across the lake into Michigan. So it's
all around water.
Well, of course you got Lake Michigan there, but there's a lot of rivers and there's a lot of streams there as well. So it's a regional phenomenon. It just happens to be in the Chicago area.
Steve, have you heard about, now you and I have talked about this as far as the Chicago thing, and it's so hard because there's so many creatures or things being seen, like you like the one Jeremy was talking about was more of a different kind of entity, totally different. This one is more cloaked in material, so it's wearing a cloak. It's not just like a cryptidy, more looking animal type being or humanoid being. This is more of something, a phantom of some sort within a cloak, usually very much like a Grim Reaper, but with no features. When you can get close up and see. And as soon as it depends on where you are. Now, he's had 3 encounters here, and he was in SoCal, I think, California, when he saw his. And it's, real early in the morning, he's pulling up at a stop sign in a residential type area. He looks and he sees this thing crouched on I want to say the first one was like a big entrance, like a gate. So pillars holding a big gated mansion. Okay. So they would big pillars of brick or stone or whatever, and it's sitting on top of that to the point where he thought it was some type of statue. So that's what caught him. Looked at it, and he's sitting very much. If you ever saw Prophecy, with the movie Prophecy with what's his name, Christopher Walken, where they're sitting like birds on the edge of a building or sitting on a top of a lamppost and on highway, and just perched up there, perfect, wings folded in. This didn't have wings, but when he noticed it, he noticed it and turned his head and looked at him. And the second time he saw it, it was on from further away. It was on a rooftop, and he watched it jump, like you said, without wings, jump and land on top of another rooftop. So I was thinking kind of like a Spring Hill Jack, type
that's
thing.
Exactly. You read my mind there, Cisco.
Did I, honey?
Going to go with that.
And the other one was the light post.
And the folded wings and things, the cowl over its head, and the feature was saying it sounds like
a moving car and a
Spring Hill Jack sightings, and those are from what, the 1800s, early 1900s. So
that's
I think it's something that's been around, and we're just more aware of it now. And the glowing eyes, I've heard, red, but I've heard other colors too. But I think that anytime you have a light in something's eyes without any source for reflection, that points to it being something not natural, supernatural, if you will. Unless
some type of aspect.
It can bioluminesce in some way that we're not aware of. Because there are, fireflies and anglerfish and things like that can glow, but I don't know of anything glowing strictly through its eyes. So it's fascinating to think about, though.
It is. And again, with Jeremy's, it was all about, and we looked into it. There was other people, similar thing, but they didn't have features, totally different being. But the telepathic connection, it seemed to, when you realized you're seeing it, it knew you saw it, and gives that knowing kind of look, maybe a follow, maybe a jump ahead, something like that. Totally different thing. That's why I'd asked about the features or no features. But, all the things screaming in the woods, we got red fox, we got all these other things. But when you hear something different, just like when you hear the Bigfoot, it sounds like whales in the woods, answering back, or the knocking or anything like that. Of course, they'd have all these different ways of possibly communicating between each other, not just so what doesn't in nature, right? That makes perfect sense. The thing that gets me is, like Steve said, the eyes, because the head that came flying at me was obviously putting out some kind of angry energy, and looking back into it, it makes sense with the story, what we've pieced together over the years. And then you see, not so much with the Bigfoot, just recently I'm hearing this with not reflecting eyes, but an actual energy, like you said, coming from a projecting out of an energy. And definitely with the dogmen, and Lon, I just heard one a couple of weeks ago in Hagerstown, Maryland. That's just below Waynesboro, not far from you. What?
Yeah, we had
20 minutes from Gettysburg.
We had a sighting.
That was dogman.
We had a sighting reported to me in just south of Hagerstown, heading towards Antietam Battlefield, over by the Hagerstown Correctional Facility. But yeah, this couple saw it, and they contacted me, and that we've had we've had several sightings of cryptid canines south of the Mason-Dixon in Maryland more recently. We had one about 2 years ago, or about a year and a half ago, down on Route 15 south of Gettysburg into Maryland, very near Camp David, actually. And then there was a police officer who lived in Howard County, Maryland, who at the time was working at Baltimore City Police Department. He was a detective. He had one break into his house.
Whoa. Can you tell us about that a little bit? Like, what was his mannerisms when it was doing it? Was it?
Well, it just made a big mess. I mean, he was in his study. What he told me, he was working on a case. He was in his study, and he heard these noises out on the backside patio outside his kitchen. So what he did, he didn't know what it was. He thought maybe I had a prowler out there. So he grabbed his service weapon and walked out there into the kitchen. He opened the door to the outside patio slightly and saw this 6-foot upright canine standing out there. And he slammed the door shut, and the thing bashed into the door a couple of times and eventually broke it down and got into his house. He ran back into his den, and he's wondering what the hell this thing was. And at the time, he's listened to all kinds of racket in the kitchen and in the dining room. He's hearing stuff breaking and smashing. So he goes back out into the hallway and walks very slowly up into the dining room. And he peeks around the doorway and sees this thing standing there, and it's just creating havoc everywhere. But apparently, now he never showed the gun to it, but this thing must have sensed it because it just shot out back into the kitchen and out the door, and it was gone. So I did go to his home, and he took pictures of the countertops in the kitchen and the all the damage in the dining room. And I mean, this thing left gashes, huge gashes into the linoleum, into the wood of the dining room table, and there was just glass and everything everywhere. So he's got a nature area right behind his house. He still believes, now this is about 2.5 years ago, he said he believes it's still out there. And
you can feel it.
Yeah, I mean,
you get a feeling. Yeah.
Now I had been making inquiries in the area, and to see if anybody else has had any sighting of it. Now, the day I was there, it was raining so heavy I couldn't have picked up any tracks or anything. But I plan on going back down again. I'll probably take some of the team with me. But yeah, this was and of course, because of his job, now he works for another jurisdiction now, but he's still a police officer. So he doesn't want any of this stuff getting out. I tried to get him to allow me to use the photographs. At this point, he won't do it.
Right.
He just doesn't want his name getting out there, and I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when you get a lot of it after they've retired and they don't name names that they were involved with. They can come out and talk
retiring,
a little.
So I
there
think
you go.
I may eventually get something from him if I just play it cool. But yeah, so that's what we've been dealing with. We've had we've been working in an investigation in Cecil County, Maryland, on the other side of the Susquehanna, the eastern side, with some cryptid activity, UFO activity, and possible cryptid canines and Bigfoot. It's a lot of crazy stuff. I mean,
Brian,
stuff is showing up left and right.
Oh, and you know Brian Bowden, right? He's in Florida now. He went from New York to Florida, and he put here in the chat that he just saw something, got some video in the sky tonight, UFO activity. And I don't know what the mainstream is calling them now. They're trying to change it now to UAP or some kind of mess. But look, it's unidentified flying object. I don't know if it's them, us, interdimensional, portal, extra dimensional, all three of the above, CIA, FBI, who friggin' knows? All the above. I'd say, yeah, it's like JFK. Yes.
Well, we did capture some pretty interesting. The owner captured some pretty interesting footage of this flying craft, this UFO, above the tree line. We actually got about 5 minutes of it, and I'm pretty sure that it's related to what's been going on there. I'm a trained remote viewer. I got a couple people who I have worked with for many, many years that are remote viewers as well. The woman who I work with now, she's Australian. She's got a team in New South Wales, and they've been doing some of the investigations for me as far as doing sessions, remote viewing sessions. And, we're not releasing any information that we've gotten yet, but it's something that our team is using to help figure out what is going on. And this is just another aspect of the type of evidence gathering and that we use as a team. We use anything that is available to us, and remote viewing is one of those. So it's not just using it for infestations and with spirits and with energies. We use it for cryptid activity as well. And as time has gone on, it's been pretty helpful. I mean, it kind of steers you in the right direction. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. There's so much going on. I mean, you've got so many, like I said before, the human hands involved in nature, usually thinking they can do it better or whatever. So you've got that aspect as well. And I think that also goes with the UFOs, the reverse engineering. What do we have? What do we, don't have? I mean, I can't tell you how many countless Jim Mars interviews. And, I got to speak to him right before he passed. And just people have been screaming this stuff for years. Everybody has been right to a certain degree. It's all true, to a certain degree, now some, like you said, hyperbole or making up or embellishments and things like that. This is one of those subjects, anything paranormal, metaphysical, supernatural, you don't really have to add to it to get the, get the zing in there, because the zing is already provided, and the cool part about it being on this end of decades and decades of trying to sort it, it's this getting to this point where you really do see it's all connected. And I loved what you said about, is this a portal opening and then orbs coming through? Maybe that's, obviously a vortex or a passageway, whatever word you want to use for something from one side to get through to this reality, whatever that may be, whatever may be causing it. Because I've sat here and I've had conversations long and hard with Bill Bean about CERN. He says every time they turn CERN on, we jump a timeline or, some other kind of thing goes, because I know I saw Shazam and I know about the Berenstein Bears and I don't know how many times they've killed Mandela, but, something's going on.
Yeah,
and
there's definitely some stuff out there.
Skinwalker
I have
Ranch.
A couple of pastors from Sound the Shofar Messianic Ministries as guests on my radio show. They've been on there a couple times, and they talked about that. Every time CERN fires up, things go funky, and then we both talked about things that we remembered one way that now it's another way, and it did not used to be that way. You'll never convince me of that. And then as far as Dogman, one of the most interesting theories I've heard about that is some kind of super soldier project, some sort of hybrid that was made in a laboratory and either escaped or was let loose just to see what would happen, to see how effective it is. And
chaos, or to guard. Know. You hear about the rakes and things like this. No. I don't know. I mean, we're starting to get so many, and I'm not even looking for it. So Lon's got to be hearing stuff like, okay, are they guarding ancient Indian burial mounds, or is it this? Or my personal theory is, I think both it's true. I think, like Lon said, indigenous, something is out there. They got the werewolf story from somewhere, even though I know they're separate. But if we got a hold of one, we turn everything into a weapon. I mean, that's true. I mean, I'm not, saying anything new here. Everybody knows that. As soon as they get something, how can we use it to kill people? And how many can we do? So of course we would mess with it and release it. And I think that more aggressive, but something also Lon said about, he may have known he had a gun. He didn't see the gun. I'm hearing that a lot too. It's like once there's a gun, there's a change in body, micro expressions, whatever, body language, attitude, whatever, maybe backs off, maybe just flees. It knows there's something going on with the gun, and they're not stupid. So is that natural, and supernatural, or is it all those plus messed with and genetically altered in some way to create a weapon? What do you think, Lon? Are you thinking about the super soldier mess or no?
I think these beings, from wherever they come from, have just got some type of innate abilities that they're able to use something like that. You talked about the CERN. Well, the oldest particle accelerator in the world is located outside of Chicago, at the Fermi Labs, and about the time all this stuff started back in 2011, is when they had their supposed accident at the Fermi Lab and shut down the particle accelerator. Now it's been started back up. It was actually started back up around 2017, 2018, and they were doing a lot of work around there. I had people scouting the place out, and there was a lot going on. Of course, about 2 years ago, they mentioned there's something in the news about them refurbishing and doing some more work out there. So, of course, we had to look into that. We've been looking into that. Is it part of what is going on with these winged humanoids? I don't know. Is it opening up a gateway? Is it opening up is it putting a tear into the fabric of time and space? We don't know. But
Right.
I mean, it could be something. We hear a lot of different things, but of course, when we do get some type of information, we're going to look into it, and that's just one of the many ideas that in possibilities that we've been looking into.
I think there's some meat on the bone there. I mean, it just seems well. I mean, again, too, if you look at the way those who would be, I'm trying to be real careful, YouTube friendly here. For those who would be in charge making those decisions to spend that money and to do that research and put that much into it and to keep it the way they, let's put it this way, the way they treat it and the way those people, there's something behind this, and then you look into Skinwalker Ranch, and I'm of the mind of, talk to people much wiser than I'll ever be, that pretty much gathered over time knowing that if they allow it in a movie, if you don't think that there's 3-letter agencies out there directing what you see, if they allow it in a movie, they probably had it 15, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Such as looking into Robert Guffey, Camilio, and things like this.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
3-letter agencies, they have liaisons in Hollywood that say, put this in or position this way. And a lot of that, it's kind of almost predictive programming, I think, where they get you used to it and see how you react to it. It's just in the movie, but then they've really got that technology. They're just kind of warming you up to it.
Yeah.
I've been doing this long enough to have my encounters with the government types. I've had several. I've had three encounters where they literally came to me and asked me to back off on a case. And to the point where the last time it happened at my doctor's office, they literally found me at my doctor's office and took me to an office across the hallway to interview me about an individual who I was investigating. And they've done that in the past. So, and that was NSA that time, because they showed me, the credentials and everything. So they do it. I mean, you hear people talk about it, where they do watch you and they do know what's going on. I'm not saying that they're tapping my phone or this and that, but when they see something or something comes to them. Now, this individual in particular, this last time, he was writing his congressperson and all kinds of other stuff. So they had him on the radar. So when my name popped up, of course, they came looking for me. And
that umbrella effect. It
does happen. I mean, I'll admit to it. I mean, they keep tabs on these things. And, even when I had my Bigfoot encounter, there was some type of, there was some government involvement with that back. And that was 1981. So,
wow,
something was going on. But of course, I was in an area where I used to live outside of Baltimore, close to DC. But there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of facilities that are unmarked. People just don't know what they are, but they're there.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I have had my dealings with these people, but as far as the super soldier thing and all that, there may be something to it. I try to stay away from the conspiracy stuff as much as I can because I'm afraid if I do get myself too deep into it, I might get myself in a bind, looking into something I shouldn't be looking into.
Right.
I do get questioned a lot about a lot of other things. It's interesting when you do this, especially when you're doing the blog every day. Every once in a while, you'll get a question come in or somebody will contact you and you can tell they're fishing and that they're just not a paranormal or cryptid enthusiast. It's a little bit more than it. They won't tell you who they are. But you do get those phone calls, and you do get those people that are making inquiries. So it happens. It does happen. People not, people talk about it and they say, people are crazy. They're just
No, it's true.
Exaggerating, but it happens.
I mean, how many different stories do we know? And Steve, I know you know them too. That I can't name the town and the city and the sighting, but how many UFO sightings the town saw? Everybody came out and saw it. And the local radio reporters out there. The next thing you know, you got these two skinny guys in black or something else scenario that give us all the tapes. You're not going to write about this, and yada yada yada. Or they came, they threw OD green tarps over everything, and the next thing we know, everything was gone. It's just been that constant thing for decades and decades. I mean, multiple stories. Jim Mars with the bodies buried in, what was it, Aurora, whatever. When you tell me stuff like the Dogman sighting, say in Maryland and around that area, right away my mind, because I'm neck deep in conspiracy theories, so I'm fine there. I float in and out the rabbit holes like crazy. See, but I can do that, and then I take something like, say, Lincoln, but I'm not writing a blog every day and have my thing is I dig down in there because I want to know where all these connections are, and by God, they are connected. And
I just look at where I'm at now. I'm within 25 miles of Camp David, 25 miles of Raven Rock. There's a lot of facilities. I mean, a lot of people don't know about it, but those two in particular, everybody knows about. And, there's other places.
I want to know what's going on. When you said that, I'm like, okay.
That's the ones we know about. Think of
all
the
ones we know about.
That we have no idea about that are that top secret.
Exactly. And then you've got, you got Harper's Ferry there, you got the armory, and my mind is going, is it still some type of an armory, or is it a museum more like? Because I haven't got a chance to go there. I've been all down through all not all Gettysburg. You think you went through all Gettysburg, and you find out you missed half of it. So I mean, that's how big everything's going on there. But there's so much there. And Antietam's right there. You've got all of that, so what could be going on? Because if you think about the theories of, if there's this one that came out probably a couple of weeks ago. I heard somebody talking about where the rakes are being seen and where the dogmen sightings are being seen. Are they guarding something? Is it to keep people out? Again, it started with the mounds, seeing them on a mountain, Indian burial mounds and stuff like that. Do you have a theory on that? Are you getting a lot of sightings where there is? Because as far as I'm concerned, the whole place is Indian burial ground. Somebody's buried wherever you're walking, pretty much. But what do you think about that?
Well, and why? I wrote a book about the crawler humanoids, and I mean it's gotten to be a worldwide phenomenon now. But I believe a lot of it was kind of manifested. I called the book "The Meme Humanoids" because I think a lot of it started with this. The internet and a lot of the memes that were projected on the internet, but I think it's gotten to a point where a lot of this stuff has been mind manifested, almost like what a poltergeist is. And and is that what's going on? I mean, I looked at a bunch of historical cases, of course, the Slender Man and a few other things,
like a tulpa.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. A tulpa form.
There we go. Okay, I'm with you. I'm tracking you. Go ahead.
That's basically what a poltergeist is, and it's a mind manifested energy that acts like a spirit or another energy of a past human energy, but it can develop into something much worse than that. And poltergeist cases are interesting. I don't particularly like doing them, but I do get them. I have had them. There's not a whole lot you can do. It's kind of to the point where you talk to the person you identify as having the mind manifestation, and work with them to try to alleviate a lot of the dysfunction around their life and a few other things that have caused the problem.
Dispel their energy. You got to give them a way to.
I mean, you got to tap down the energy, the negative energy, and I guess a lot of people just don't really realize, and I have talked about this for many, many years, how how negative energy affects a lot of the hauntings and a lot of these infestations. And it's just
100%.
a matter of going in there and alleviating that. Many times you can take care of it. It takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a quick fix. I mean,
Well, it didn't build overnight either.
I worked on a case for almost 10 years before the entity decided to move on. I didn't get rid of it. I just got rid of it at that location. It no doubt went somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take away what it's feeding on, the negativity it's feeding on, it'll go looking elsewhere. Kind of like what people talk about with the shadow people and the Hat Man and all that. A lot of that, I believe, is related. I think even those aren't mind manifested. I think they are some type of entity that it's not of this earth and can come here at some point, and they find a location that's suitable for them to survive, and that's where they take off at. That's where they stay at until the energy's gone to the point where it's not viable for them to be there any longer, and they move on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I agree 100%, Steve. I mean, as far as the shadow people, we've done stuff on them and the Hat Man too. That was one of the things that made old Grant, not Grant. I can't remember the Ghost Hunters, the original, but I remember reading their books before they ever got.
Oh, looks like we lost Cisco. The abyss swallowed her up. Hopefully she'll be back here in a moment.
You were talking about the wrong subject. Yeah. They didn't like it. The gremlins will come out sometime when you're doing live radio.
Wow. I'm telling you, like my hands are here. I've got a touch screen and I'm fighting this one up here constantly, but I think I'm winning the battle there, and it just keeps going out. Shut the lights, all the lights off in here. See how dark it got? All the electrics just went out here, blew a fuse or something. I've got this side.
One of those 3-letter agencies doesn't like what we're talking about.
Something's happening, man. But I agree with everything that you just said. And Steve and I have talked about that, and I've said that I believe too that they are of separate. I would say probably more interdimensional. I have a hard time convincing people. Look, they were never human. This is something totally different. We had to, and this is what I meant in the beginning. So many different levels. Everybody wants to just put a haunting in a box. First of all, you don't know. Did you bring it with you? What's going on there? How do you know the EVP you got is from, Joe died in the tractor accident in the backyard? Again, there's so many levels to this. But when that was one of the things that drove Jason, that was him, Hawes crazy, because he was trying to track the Hat Man sightings, and he had this big map. I don't know if you ever heard him tell this story, and he's like, this is nuts with the, they're saying time here and the hat thing here, and he's like, how is this happening?
I don't think you could, if you had
that's just it. It's something different.
And put pins all in it. You still,
and they are energy suckers, and they're big on negative energy, and I think they're mean, they're cruel.
They kill.
Yeah, they kill. Absolutely. And it drives me crazy when people say, ghosts, again, there's that box and everything included in it can't hurt you. Bullshit.
Yep.
Understand, know your haunting, know what you're dealing with. And that's why I say it takes a team, to go in there. It's like therapy. Like you said, 10 years. This stuff where we're 30 minutes, we'll get a couple and we're out. Done. We've got it off. No, you don't.
I tell you.
And it changes.
This is the truth. I'd say when I was doing this is probably about 10 years ago when I was doing a lot of cases. I kind of backed off more recent years, but I'd say that 75% of the cases we were working on were people who were so-called paranormal investigators who got attachments.
Yep. There it is. We get that call.
They go into a location, even go to a graveyard or go somewhere and pick up something that attached to them, take it home, and then they've got problems.
Yep.
And they don't know how to deal with it. And the first thing you ask them, and what they're going to tell you, well, did you protect yourself? What do you mean protect myself? Well, there you go.
Believe it all that. I don't need that. I got the T-shirt and I got this EMF. I got, that's what I get. I'm like, you
and
better.
that's the biggest downside about all the paranormal TV shows. Everybody thinks they can do it, and a lot of people are getting themselves in a bind. I guess it still goes on. I just I've backed off a lot of that. I just don't really have the time to do it all the time. But there, every once in a while, if I do get a case, especially if there's kids involved, I'll
Yes,
get involved
yes.
with, because I have worked with a lot of kids, especially kids who've got abilities. And I'm proud to say I've had several who have turned into some pretty good psychics as they've grown
Isn't
up.
that wonderful? That's my main thing. Give them tools to work with that are going to help them.
But if you get the
Yeah.
parents' permission, and of course, usually the parents are begging you to help the kids or to
Yeah.
work with them. And I have worked with a few over the years, and
That's wonderful. Yeah.
that's where I take a priority.
Yep, me too. And Steve as well. And most of the people I have on this program, that's the whole reason they're here, is to give that information, that next level. He's like, I don't do shows where we're trying to prove to people that there's ghosts and cryptids and things like that. You prove to me there isn't. I don't bother anymore. I've become a real cold-hearted, jaded bitch when it comes to that. But when it comes to kids, and I'm trying, and people are calling me and they're asking me, what do I do? Information like, okay, well, we figured it out. I've sent a couple of remote viewers in there. Okay, I've got a medium on it, a couple psychic mediums, difference. It doesn't matter where they are. They've looked into it. This is what you're dealing with. This is why you're dealing with it. And this is what you need. Then they want to talk to me for another 2 hours about, well, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do. No, go back to the first sentence I said in this conversation, because it hasn't changed. You're dealing with an elemental. You need a shaman. You need to go find out the local native clan that's there. Tell me what your property blessed. Tell them what you need. They'll send the right people. Then you tell them why they're really there. They'll know. If they got if they've got any kind of abilities, they're going to know. And this is what you need to deal with an elemental. It's never been human. I can't name you all of them, but I know that much. Well, maybe I should get the priest out of the corner. Not going to, nope. You're just going to wake up whatever's in the basement. Do what I'm telling you to do. Why'd you call me?
Most priests will run out the door anyway.
Of course. And that's after you go through
they're not
all
trained to do that. I mean,
No.
you get your local parish priest, even a pastor, to come in there and beg them to come in there. They'll come there, throw some holy water around, and if something happens, they're out the door quickly.
Yeah. It's apples and oranges. Yeah, me too. But that's the thing that kills me. It's like, why are you calling me? And you get the people that just want to rehash everything. And I'm saying, wait a minute, there's children involved. Okay. You're talking to me from an active place. Stop talking to me. Don't give it attention. I don't need to hear it. The people that I'm going to send to you need to hear this. Because what it's doing is getting energy off of this, and it's hearing you, and I'm telling you this, and you're still going, different things like that. It's look, if you guys are going to call expert, or you're going to call on, or you're going to whatever, and you're listening to this, please understand we're being adamant because we know, and if we don't know, we probably know somebody who does. So we're going to send that person, and that person doesn't have the time, they want to get at what the problem is. This is why you called. Just listen to them, because like Lon is saying, it could be a poltergeist. It could be a manifestation of whatever. We're going to have to ask you, what's going on in the house? Is there a divorce? Is there abuse? Is there this? Is there drugs? Is there mental health issues? And we haven't even got to the ghost yet. How are you going in an hour, and you're whatever, and you don't even know what you're dealing with or how many different things you're dealing with. Some people are wherever they go, this stuff is going to follow them, and what you said about paranormal investigators going out. Here's a case, had two women together. They were partners and they had a group, and they went, and their big thing was they had a local serial killer. Now get this, local serial killer who buried bodies in an industrial park, and they were going there to try to get EVPs and talk to the serial killer and everything, and talk to the dead and the victims. And they did this once a week for about 3 months. One of them was getting really sick, can't figure out what's going on. By the time we got the phone call, they're on the couch with an IV, hospital bed pretty much set up in the living room, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So some very smart individuals, well within their abilities, going, oh, you got this guy. Hey, wait a minute. This guy was the serial killer attached says, I'm going to keep on killing. You see what I mean? And went after her, and the weakest one in the crowd, bam, cracks in your windshield. They know where the cracks are in your windshield. They push, and believe me, they're going to shatter that thing. And that's when you get the phone calls. And we told you, protect yourself. Don't be stupid. Don't go full retard. Don't ever go and do stuff like that. There are groups of people who actually sit, whether you believe in death row and all this other stuff. But, when they would execute someone in a prison, there are people who sit in that room just to make sure that they bind that kind of evil so it doesn't get back out. People don't realize what they're doing. Energy is something that needs to be really studied. These crazy things with people burning stuff and releasing energy and thinking that's destroying it. We got to start thinking on this stuff at a different level. Like Lon is saying here about takes a long time to get rid of this poltergeist. This is something that never lived, but is living. It's a collection of energy. Lizzie Borden house is a good one, with all the people going in there constantly talking about it, constantly, Ouija boards and this and that and everything else. So she's got like a fractured energy. She left her energy there, and then everybody's building on it. And now it's something completely different, according to a lot of really smart mediums that have been there. And they just keep telling people, you got to stop doing this. And they won't do it because it sells keychains and, and room, it's crazy. And I don't know how you feel about it, Lon, but I'm pretty sure that you're going to agree that people need to quit doing that. The serial killer thing. Can you believe it?
Oh, that's just asking for trouble. I don't understand people doing some of that stuff.
And the same with the Velisca axe murder house. I mean, we had the guy who's the ultimate expert on that, but
Dr. Epperly,
they've got keychains and bumper stickers, and I don't know. That's kind of
By the time you are
right,
you go through all of that and say a place like Velisca, you're constantly going in. Whatever you're talking to isn't the people you think you're talking to. It's whatever you've manifested over time. It's the wandering, earthbound, whatever car accident down the street that's coming over here, and everybody's going. We talked to the serial killer in the closet. No, you didn't.
You go into you got all these people going into places. A lot of people are dropping stuff off when they get there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just builds up and builds up. I've seen it, and it that's why I stay away from these places that people do haunting investigations.
Asylums, can you believe it? Oh my God!
I don't even get near them. I mean, I never have. I
cross the street.
It's just I just think it's crazy, but it's people love doing it.
Prisons. Let's go into all this dispelled energy. Anybody I've ever heard, I can't remember the prison that it was. I believe it was in California. I could be wrong. It was a major riot. They got guards. They held people for a long time. Just imagine the energy in this place, right? And what might be attracted to that in the first place. And then you've got something like that with all the murders and the killings and the horrible. And they want to go and sit in a cell overnight and sleep there and antagonize,
I don't get it.
And then they think they're going to walk away. Let me tell you something, people, from the inside back door of all this stuff, I can tell you a lot of these people that you see on TV have gone multiple times to get things taken off of them. You're just not reading about it in the papers. It's absolutely true.
Oh, I know a few.
Yeah, me too.
I know a few. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I wouldn't name them, but I know a few.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then go right back and do it again because of just the same as anything else. You got to keep that, like any, let's say, star. And once you get a taste of that, and the producers and this and the contracts and the money, and you got to keep that going. And they just keep going back, and you'll see a lot of mediums. Friends of mine, I try to tell people that, especially physical mediums, it's so physically debilitating. They don't realize how much it takes from a person. And most of the time, these people, out of the kindness of their heart, they're doing this, and it's draining. I imagine a remote viewing might have a similar effect.
A piece of me every time I do it.
Yep. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
And
I've had 2 major psychic attacks where I literally, I had a laceration on my chest down to my stomach that opened up and bled, and I had during a remote view. And I had another one where I had bruised ribs, where at the point where I had to go to the hospital and because I couldn't breathe during a remote view. It happens. It happens.
And people, that's what gets me too. It's like they'll come out and they'll see somebody that's trying to do good and is a great medium or psychic or whatever it may be. Put your label there, and they'll right away, well, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Why, they're just doing it for the money, or you don't realize how much physical. Now, again, you got your percentage, but the ones that I know that give so selflessly of their time, whether it's in an investigation or anything else, and then somebody will bitch because, well, we have to fill out a questionnaire. Well, yeah, I'm going to drive, all this, I'm not even asking for gas money. Yeah, you're going to fill out a questionnaire. Because I need to know if anybody in here is on any kind of medications, if there's, like I said earlier, abuse, mental health issues, arguing, fighting, whatever. We need to know. And it's just as important to the history of the property. Because like Lon said, Steve, you said it when we were talking about that farmhouse that I lived in when I was a kid. My dad goes into the almost 200-year-old farmhouse where you've got... found out over decades that it was probably a Revolutionary War soldier that had been hiding out and died of his wounds or something along those lines. Is angry, confused, agitated. My dad goes in there with shell shock World War II, dealt pretty much with it with vodka, and got very violent and angry. He brings that into there, and all hell broke loose. Now you got something in the basement attacking people. You got a Civil War soldier, a Revolutionary War soldier popping up all over the place. You got something in the cornfield, and there's definitely something in that damn barn. The whole place was going off.
And don't forget about the snot hag.
Yeah, she was on a different property, but she was something else. Yeah. But him going in there with his violent energy and waking everything up. The house, the living definitely has effect on the property. The house itself, which I believe can sometimes become its own entity. That's another wild subject. And the dead who might be there. Right? And then the elementals, which is a whole nother layer. And then if you have aliens, well, there you go. That's the grand slam right there. I guess. Well, listen, you guys, I know I'm keeping you a long time. Do you want to tell us anything, Lon? Stories like what you're working on now, or, I know we're never going to get all the answers, but just coming together and saying this is all connected. It's energy, this and that and everything else. But what's your main thing now? Is it the dogmen that you see is coming up and that's getting real popular, or what?
I just take it as it comes. Of course, we're working on the Chicago cases. We're continuing doing that. We look into a lot of the dogman sightings in this part of the country, in the Mid-Atlantic, particularly Maryland and Pennsylvania. But I work on what we get. I've got a team where we get cases that get sent in to me. I can distribute it out to one of the team members to do interviews and get their boots on the ground, even nationwide, even up into Canada. We're trying to get answers, trying to help people. If you're interested in checking out the blog, it's phantomsandmonsters.com. And we do a radio show every Friday night at Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube. Just search it, or search my name, Lon Strickler, and it'll come up.
That's great.
And I'm not
mods,
working
if you
any
could
books
drop
right
that
now,
link.
but
You never know, Lon. You never know, because we never run out of material for these subjects. Steve and I both wrote books too, and I mean, I've got at least another 2 in me, just in my experiences. I think that these things happen young, and we're inquisitive, and we're just trying to figure out what was going on, and look where we wound up. Yeah.
Here we are, still digging with that shovel.
50 years later, here we are sitting here going, wait a minute. But I do feel that, it's been a great ride. It's been a wonderful journey. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
No, and seeing all this the way it is and being this end of it and being able to look at something like the Skinwalker Ranch show and being able to look at it and go, okay, they're giving us a snippet here. What are they not telling us?
Yeah.
It's like, what else is going on here? And looking into all that. But before I let you go on, living that close and being in there in Gettysburg is near and dear to my heart. We'll have to have you back and talk real deep on that stuff. Because I swear, I think I was reincarnated, and just why am I passing so many battlefields and headed to Gettysburg? I have no clue, but I feel like almost like a home there. In fact, I'm trying to move there. I'm headed to Waynesboro, I think, but as close as I can get. What's your favorite Gettysburg ghost tale?
Oh God!
There's got to be one that just intrigues you. Is it the apporting? Is it the guy showing up in Devil's Den? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I get so many of them. I've had a couple personal cases that personal sightings that involved other people, and it's just so many. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
I know. I sit here with Mark Nesbitt.
If I come
love
back
Mark
on what I'll do is I'll dig everything out that I have, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, I'd love it. I would love it. Yeah, I sit here with that because again, we're really intrigued. Like you said, you might not get into the conspiracy stuff. I dig over here, and get into all of it, because I just love it. So, the rabbit holes, you never know what you're going to find. But get here with Mark, and he's doing Mark Nesbitt and Carol, his wife. He started getting it after everything he's done and all the books that he's written on the Gettysburg Ghost 1 through 24 or something. God bless him. He started getting Catherine Ramsland, who writes for Psychology Today. She does her blog for Psychology Today, and they got together doing paranormal crime scene investigation. And it was so intriguing. He actually got, how the game, he was a ranger for a couple decades. Mm-hmm. And they stay in the historical homes on the battlefield. The whole place is a battlefield. But that's, they can kind of watch over the property and get a decent rental and residence, I think, when they're going through their time. But he got a call one night from one of the other guys who was staying in another little place. And he goes over there and he says, Mark, you got to see this. And he looks down and he says, this stain, it keeps coming up no matter what I do. Go right a couple days later, here's a puddle again. So Carol's out in the car, his wife, and they just got early married, I believe. And she goes in, and she was going to Gettysburg College and for her, whatever it was, she was finishing up. And she says, look, I'm going to take a sample. Has anybody ever got a sample of this? So she gets the tissue, gets a sample, right? They take it, put it in a little Ziploc. She takes it to Gettysburg College and comes back, and they send it to whoever. Human DNA. They couldn't get a whole lot on it. Now it was like orangey, yellow, whatever kind of goo, and then it disappears. It comes back. So that's what got him started in doing this with Catherine Ramsland, and she was big on Jack the Ripper and a whole bunch of other cases that she was involved in. And it's just so interesting. There's always another level to go to, and I think tonight really interested. The Chicago humanoids and all that. I just think there's more and more, and there's more different ones being cited.
Scratching the surface, tip of the iceberg, and hopefully
tip of the iceberg. You got the things in the trees. You got these that cloaking stuff.
You got the rake. You got the
all hell's breaking loose, Lon,
or whatever. That's I think we're in the end times, and these are hideous apparitions that we're seeing.
Somebody's ripped something open somewhere and let the dogs out. That's what happened. Lon, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on here tonight. And again, I echo Steve in saying that you had a lot of people out here praying for you. Thank you so much for accepting my invite tonight and coming on my little show and giving us such a great conversation. Got to have you back. I'd love for you to dig in your stuff and just throw whatever you got at us, man. We'll catch it.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go because I can tell you're tired, sweetie. So again, Guys, mods, throw those links up here and go listen to this man, his radio show. Steve, I'm going to keep you here just a minute. Lon, thank you so very much. It was an absolute pleasure meeting
Lon,
you.
always a pleasure, sir.
Okay, Steve. Talk to you soon.
All right. And stay out of the woods. Or at least
will.
go with protection. All right, honey. Get a sharp machete, as Bowden says.
Watch out
Good
for
night,
those
sweetie.
government agents. They're pesky.
Absolutely.
You'll have a good evening.
You too, sweetie. Good night. Thank you so much, man. That was lovely.
Yeah,
Steve,
great show.
I can't thank you, but I couldn't have done that without you because, again, you know that I admit I don't know too much about, we didn't even get to really touch on all the different
like I said, we just hit the tip of the iceberg there, and hopefully it won't fall on anybody this time.
That was like around the world in 80 days.
Yeah, there was a lot of points that I didn't get to make. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Oh, absolutely.
I talked with those pastors, and the things where you talked about when you said Christopher Walken in prophecy, that kind of jogged my memory, the conversation I had with those guys. There's a type of angel known as the Watchers. And depending on the book, it talks about in the book of Daniel, and then it's also in the books of Enoch. And Enoch talks about some of them are good and some of them are not so good. And that's what they do. They sit and watch. And that's kind of like these winged humanoids. And, just because it's an angel or even a fallen angel, it doesn't mean it's, one of these gossamer wings, beautiful things. Because if you
so
look
many different kinds
in the Bible, anytime an angel appeared to anybody, Mary, be not afraid. They're like, hey, don't let us scare you off. We're here to tell you something good. So you can imagine how frightening some of these things would
I mean,
look.
You've got all that. You got the Nephilim. You've got,
Yeah.
I'm studying now where I'm hearing there was 3 times that there was a rebellion against God. And, those 3 times. And the last time, or was it the middle? I think it was the middle one where they actually came down and mated with the women here.
Yeah.
And then you start hearing the
show
giants.
that's playing right now over on Ground Zero Radio Network.
Oh, really? Did we?
Again, we're talking UFOs, alien abduction, and things like that from a biblical perspective. Guys have a lot of insight. They dig into the Bible and the Torah.
I'm telling you, it's true, man. It's all coming together.
Stuff. And that's
it's all coming together.
In the book of Daniel and the book of Enoch, that's written, 1 to 2 centuries BC, so...
Yes.
This isn't anything new. We're just finding out a lot more about it.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Our world's gotten smaller and information is broader.
And what did they take out of it? That was always my major thing. I just think it's just how arrogant could they be to, I've gone through my things with the Bible. I do believe in some ways, I say it's the biggest game of telephone ever. I don't mean the Bible itself. I mean the way it's interpreted and across the board and thrown out. And I think it's on purpose in some ways to separate everybody and to take them away. Do you see where I'm coming from here? Yeah. Because if you look at what I've always said, the words in red, what Jesus said, it's the core of any spiritual belief of, it's common sense. We're here to love one another, to help one another, to be as a group and care for one another. And if you don't believe that, look into all your NDE experiences and coming back. And what are they telling you? What are the dead coming back and communicating through spirit mediums, through, whatever, through mediums, psychics, whatever? What are they telling you? They're telling you that love is eternal. Don't worry about that. The universe will take care of it. I don't want you to spend all your time trying to figure out who took me out or how I left. I'm fine. Live your life to the fullest, be kind, love one another. That's what matters the most. All of these things, whatever type of other religion you get into, the core, most of them, now not all, but most of them is the same. Love one another, be good to yourself, don't do stupid things, don't hurt other people. And then people coming back from NDEs will say, well, when you hurt somebody, you're hurting yourself. You're going to feel it when you get over there. You made that person cry. You're going to see how they felt. You're going to get it from your point of view, from their point of view. And then everything that occurred after that is a ripple. So, your actions have repercussions, and that way your soul, when it's on the other side, realize, oh, I could have done that better. I had no idea. But the opposite is also true. I believe that people focus on the negative a lot, but the opposite is true. What did you do that rippled out and sent love out? that changed somebody's day. We talk about that all the time here on this show, Steve and I, all the time. You know, you might it might have just been you opening the door saying have a nice day to somebody, but to them it might have been the most kind thing that's happened to them in days.
Yep.
You never know, right,
It's all
Steve?
about the intent.
Right. And like the 5 people you meet in heaven, you know. Or I was watching Unsolved Mystery the other day, and it was one of those lost somebody's, go find somebody, this person was kind to me or whatever, and I believe it was a vet who pretty much was going to commit, you know, Harry Carey, you know, had gone through a lot, and it was, I think it'd be Korea War or something like that, and it was a nurse that just would not let him quit, and she just put her all into, and you know what, when it all came through, he found her, she came on and she was interviewed, and they got together and did the hug and the flowers and all that kind of thing. It was wonderful. And she sat down, the first thing she said, I had no idea that I ever had any kind of influence on his life, whatever. I was just doing my job and I cared. But she had no idea. And this guy had spent decades, you know, putting everything on what she had done and the kindness that she had showed him. And that propelled him forward to live his life and have a family and get a job and live on and had kids. You never know. It's a wonderful life, right, Steve? That's a great holiday message.
Yeah, great movie. Nicole's never seen that movie. I've got it, and we're going to watch it.
It's a Wonderful Life. I just dropped in. I did an old. It was an old Lux Theater radio play from 1934, and I just loaded it up there in the under. It's a Wonderful Life. It's a great little thing. So it's an hour, and the cool part about it is it's just a titch different than the movie, because Jimmy Stewart had to take 2 hours and put it down to an hour. He actually did the rewrite for the screenplay for the radio show. He did a great job. And there's a subtle differences, like it's not Zuzu's petals in her pocket and in his pocket. Remember when her flower fell apart and he hid the petals so she wouldn't know it had fell apart. And in the play, it's a bell. It's Zuzu's bell. So little things like that. Of course, they shortened it up, but that would be great for her to check out. Two of you together. It's got great scenery and stuff like that. And then watch the movie, and she's got extra. That'd be nice, especially, you know, just sitting around the old fire since it's so daggum chilly. We're having a bad storm here right now. That's why all this stuff was going on and off.
It's not storming here, but it's really pouring down the rain, and it's supposed to do it all night.
50 to 60 mile an hour winds and a bunch of rain. And we were out running around doing last minute wedding stuff because my son's getting married next week. So, wow, I can't believe I'm saying that's amazing. We're so thrilled. But they want something very small, and you know, I've had to dial it back. I had to call off the Marines. I was going to have them follow the car and drop glitter and rose petals on them as they went from
paratroopers.
Yeah. It was so funny because my one son said to the other, he says, you know, tell mom not to go off. You know, I don't want her to go through any trouble. We're just doing something simple. And he goes, she has dialed it back so much. You don't understand. Like, you're not joking, you know? I mean, that's all I ever said is I've been doing other people's weddings for decades. I've done everything from the invitations to the, you know, packing the cake at the end of the thing and, you know, getting everybody in the cars at the end, to getting them out there and putting boutonnieres on grooms and groomsmen, and for decades. And they tell me don't do anything. We met.
That's why we eloped. We didn't want to involve a bunch of people. But,
yeah,
you know,
I know.
I don't
I'm
have
trying my best.
left, but some of Nicole's family weren't too happy about it, but they're happy that she's happy. So they've accepted it.
The thing is, it's just the proof is in the eating of the pudding, or the pudding in the proof, and the not possession is 9/10 of the law, Steve.
Yep.
I don't know. Pick a bumper sticker. I'm just saying that, look, if somebody's happy and somebody's well cared for and you love them, why wouldn't you love who they love?
Everything. Exactly. That's the important thing.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know, don't think I didn't get some looks when I came home with a 1%er on my arm. I'm just saying. Here I am in my class A's, and he's in his never mind. It was wild. Yeah, I've always chose the road less traveled, and it's made all the difference in the world, right, Steve?
You're a rebel, an iconoclast, and I get that.
Yep. It's like, what are you rebelling against? What do you got, right?
Yeah.
But there you go. So, man, your channel's been hot lately. Look at you. Tell us about those subscribers there, my friend, and all those books.
I broke 100,000 last week, and that's great.
I love it.
I did it on the old channel that I used to be on. It took almost 2 years over there to hit that number. And I just started this channel in March, I think. So growing by leaps and bounds. Love it.
Yeah.
And just published my 19th book. Yeah, 20 if I count the one you and I did together.
Please count it.
Stories and legends and stories of the Continental Divide Trail. So a good series, 3-book series right now. I may do some more. Nicole and I are working on some books together.
Doing great.
And we've got some other channels. She's got the Insomniac Radio Theater. I narrate a lot over there.
Cisco knows some shit.
And still got 13 Past Midnight. It's on hiatus now. I haven't done anything since Halloween, but going to be putting up some Victorian Christmas stories that I narrated over there.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Some good
that's my favorite. Yeah.
And
that's it. I'm going to put Christmas Carol back up too. I did a great Christmas Carol radio play. Who was it? It was E.G. Marshall with Scrooge.
Yeah, love E.G. Marshall. Love that voice.
So I'm going to put that one back up. Make that a tradition
I'll listen
again.
to that one for sure.
I've got It's a Wonderful Life up. I got Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot's Christmas Pudding is up. That one's doing great. That's got like almost, I think it's going on 3,000 views there. I don't know. It must be Hercule. I love Hercule Poirot.
Yeah.
He's a Belgian detective.
Nicole's going to help me. There's a Christmas story that I wrote a few years ago.
Do it.
A friend of mine was trying to sell a script for a Hallmark movie, and she wanted a short story to put in it. So I wrote the short story. I don't know, never heard if the script was sold or not, but I'm going to take that and narrate it, and she's going to play the female part in it.
That's exciting. So much fun.
That'll be up.
You guys should do more about that. You should do more like that.
And if you listen to
you
my
do like a
radio
Fibber McGee
show,
and Marley.
Yeah, well, we've talked about that too.
That's
There's some
fun.
old radio show scripts that are in the public domain that we're going to re-record. I won't give away too much on that one, but we're real excited about it.
I love that.
But if you listen to my radio show on Clyde Lewis Ground Zero Radio Network, the voice that you hear introducing me is none other than the lovely Nicole. So,
love it. She's doing a great job, and I love that radio show. I've been on twice now. I want to be the most repeated guest ever. We get on there, and
I think you've been on 3 times now. You hold the record.
I'm gonna keep it. Don't you let somebody take my record.
The pastors from Sound the Shofar Messianic Ministries, they've been on with me twice, so we need to get you on again to keep you in the lead.
I got him in my rear view.
That's the thing I love about having Cisco as a guest. I just wind her up and let her go. And
sometimes don't even need to wind me up.
2 hours with her. We have to. I said, okay, we're at the end. She's like, it's been 2 hours already. We
like,
can
tap the brakes
for hours and hours. And always a pleasure and always entertaining, Cisco. I'll have you back soon.
I keep trying to find out about all the fairies and stuff like that, Steve, and to bring people on. We wind up talking about ghosts, but man, I love getting people at this level. And I don't mean, when I say at this level, I certainly don't mean to disparage anybody else. I'm not saying that. And I'm not being, whatever. I don't know. Look at this. Now something else popping up. Good Lord Almighty. So I guess my ghost shade, yeah, you are. You're just, look, that's not why I mean it. This is it. When we do these shows, I get excited about the shows I put on. That's why you don't see me have and I did this before when I did my iTunes and all this other stuff. There's different formats you go through and that's not for me. Everybody's doing that. I'm doing something different. I'm not going to put on airs. I'm going to be me. I'm 61 years old. I'm not going to start lying now about stuff. I want to get people on here. They're going to talk about the next level things. And when I hear somebody in British Columbia, Canada, who has been, and I wish I could remember the name of his site, Uncommon Belief. Do you remember the name of the YouTube channel that guy's got? I think it's something like In the Woods Outdoor. I don't know. It's basically a hunting channel. Because he's a guide. He takes people out hunting.
I think it's How to Hunt with Somebody, but I can't remember the rest of his name. But that's a great show.
Stuff he's getting.
Another one you'll enjoy, Base Camp Chris. Go check him out. He's another one of my favorites.
Yep. And they're telling stories, and everybody's kind of converging on that and sending them stories. And very much like Lon said, very much like Steve and I have said on here, somebody will send us something to go like, don't reveal who I am, but I have been a police officer such. I have been a game warden for such and such, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've seen this. So basically the kind of stuff he's putting out is that we're at the point now where he's got multiple people saying that some, now not again, I will not say all, because I don't say all ghost or all this or all that, because there's so many split off levels of a species. Let's just put it that way. Just like human beings are different but similar, and then at one point they break off and go on their own way. Animals do this too, cryptids do this too, probably aliens. I mean, unless they're boxed, unless there's no life in them and no free will and they're robots, even AI is going to have some choice now, if you start thinking about it, which is a scary thing, right? So why would you say that these other things aren't going to be different by environment or how they were raised or how they look? Some Bigfoots are very docile and can actually coincide with other living beings, other living things, why is this doing this? Other living, I never moved it. But other living things.
Do
So
not
why
adjust your
would
set? We are in control. There you go.
it's crazy? It's scary, man. At this point, I'm
Outer
just glad
limits
we
are
got
taking
through.
over Cisco's channel there.
Yeah, I'm just glad we got through.
It makes it interesting anyway.
Yeah,
more so. It didn't mean that the way it sounded.
but the eyes, Steve. That's a key. It's a key there, because
like
he's starting to get them with. Some have some blue green.
Anything that has glowing eyes, there's not a source for it to reflect.
It's not a reflection.
It's either something we don't know about that can bioluminesce through the eyes, but I don't know how that would work. That'd be like driving around with your car with the dome light on. You can't see anything.
Right. But look at the head that flew at me.
I think it's unnatural.
I've said it since I was little.
Even.
It had light coming from red light. Its eyes weren't red. It was red light, and it was angry. Then I pick up along the way, okay, orbs are different colors for certain things. Mist, I had the mist, the hot pink mist in Wheatfield and Gettysburg.
That head that flew at you, as they say here in New England, it was wicked pissed.
It was wicked pissed, right, and confused and angry. And then again, and sometimes he would appear, just pleading, like begging, kind of like pleading for help or whatever, or assistance, or make the pain go away. I don't know what he was going through, but different things.
I still think it had something to do with those documents that your dad found in the wall that he destroyed. I'd love to know what was on those documents.
And they're gone. They're gone. But they found him with a red ribbon.
There you go.
So, I mean, blows me away. And that's how I remembered. Oh, look at this. Now I lost Steve. Would you stop? Whoever's doing that, cut it out. Look at this. Look what's happening. I have no idea what's going on now. Hold on. Let's get Steve up.
There we go. Wow.
Well, that's good. All right. That's enough.
Ready for your close-up, Mr.
I'm going to get the
Stockton.
black salt out. I'm telling you, don't mess with me. All right. Sit there and be good wherever you are. Stop touching things. And don't touch me.
Where are your cats? They may be responsible.
I don't know, unless they've got a cloaking device
their
of some
tail
kind.
on the touch screen, or
oh man, Steve, when we get together, the things that happen.
we've had all kinds of things happen.
I've been fighting this thing all night.
Soraya,
But it's something about the eyes, dude. It's because it's the dogmen too. It's a dogmen too.
This whole broadcasting
I know.
console.
No.
We talked for an hour before we noticed. Like, where'd Soraya go?
But yeah, because it's the dogmen too, and I'm hearing it a lot about that. The attacks at LBI and the Land Between the Lakes, what LBL. I always say LBI because we got the up here, but it's the red eyes, and it knew when they pulled a gun. It responded. Yeah. The whole thing that Ron Murphy did. Again, if you haven't seen American Werewolves, it's American Werewolves. It's available on YouTube movie, and it was done by you know him, Steve. You did some work with him on the TV documentary, paranormal documentaries.
Oh, Breedlove.
Thank you.
American,
I knew it was a B.
Small Town Monster.
Yeah. He did
I still don't know if that episode I was in came out. I know they were premiering it at some of the conventions and stuff, but I don't know if it's available.
They didn't let it out yet.
Amazon or YouTube. I'll have to check.
That's a good guy. He would let me know.
Yeah, I love meeting Seth. He wants a picture made with me, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, he's a crack outfit, but he's the one who did the American Werewolves, and Ron is like the first one you see talking about the stuff. But look at all that and listen to those stories, and listen to how they talked about they saw the red eyes in the woods, and sometimes it's yellow orange. And again, I'm not talking about the reflection of the eyes, like you see a raccoon or a cat or whatever in the
Yeah.
woods. That too. This is separate. And the dogman with the red eyes and the orange eyes. So this guy, that's the British Columbia guy, and I'd love to get him on. I'd love to get him on because he's so down to earth, and he's so, look, this happened. And he lost a knife, and then like a year and a half later on the trail, it was under like a foot of snow. It winds up back in his backpack, and you could tell that it was laying in the ground. It had some corrosion, like it had been on the dirt. You know, when you're out in the woods a lot, you know what things look like when you dig them up and they've been, a week under the snow and the dirt and everything. Especially metal, even stainless steel is going to get stains, trust me. But it's weird. The stories he's got. The main thing is this. The infrared. And now it's been about 2 months since I'd heard from him, and now he's starting to dig into this infrared and this radiation, because they're getting this radiation from like footprints or things where it was left, very much like the crop circle situation. And we're going to do a show on that, because what the hell happened to crop circles?
Yeah, I think they're
So,
still out there. I'll
yeah.
start doing another segment, which I've released a separate podcast audio version of over on Spreaker and Spotify and all those places, called Midnight Mailbox, where people send me in there and kind of like to list their stories that I used to do. And you wouldn't believe the things just in the first episode, the stuff sent in. A lot of stuff happens in cornfields or around cornfields, but I would like to delve into those crop circles. Are they still out there? You don't hear anything about it. Now, a lot of them are in the UK anyway.
I'm
I'll check up
digging
on
it. Yeah, please
we
do,
had
because
a headless man, and somebody saw in a cornfield, and
oh wow,
there's some good stuff in there. If you've got a story that you'd like to hear me narrate on an episode of Midnight Mailbox, send it to midnightmailbox13@gmail.com, and I'll narrate it in a future episode.
It'd be great. There you go. There you go, guys. But yeah, that's the thing. And so he's even to the point now where when he goes out, he's still going out there, right? And the thing that you and I talked about many times, Steve, going in the woods, everything goes silent. You get that silent void. Everything changes. The atmosphere changes. You stop. No crickets, no cracking leaves, nothing. No birds.
Yeah, had a story like that. Had
the
same
several
guy.
of them.
One of the things, and he was hearing voices mimicking people that he knew, and even himself at one point.
Creepy.
And it knew things about him. It knew like secrets and rushes and things that he had never.
That I would say that's an elemental or an interdimensional, because I'm telling you, unless you're a ghost that's got a lot of power, apporting and things like this. I'm not saying there's not ghosts in the woods. That's totally possible. But when you get that feeling,
and like up here, this land here in New England is so old. There's so much history.
Oh,
it predates even the Revolutionary War. Although there's a place up here that I'm going to go check out, where somebody talked about seeing Civil War soldiers in the woods behind his house, spirits. But Nicole, we were out driving around one day, and she took me. Was going to show me where she used to live. And when we turned onto that road, I said, I didn't even know what road it was. I said, something feels off here. And she said, yeah, this is down the street. Here is where the apartment where I lived, where all these things happened. But I could feel the land is soured, if you will.
Yep. And then you listen to that intuition, Steve, because I'm telling you, so many times you dig back and, send somebody in, like say an Amy Allen or somebody of that caliber that walks in and goes, look, this whole land, there should be nothing there. Everything should be burnt down. Nothing living should be here. That's why I put that in cabin 22, because this is the kind of stuff I was taught. And listen, I wasn't raised in a teepee, guys, or a longhouse. We wasn't a lot of Native Americans sitting around my table giving me all the secrets. I got these in pieces and parts throughout my lifetime from segments of people I was related to, until I ran out of them and got into the elders and stuff like that. And then you piece it together with that little piece of data, that you picked up, that little seed of information. That's why I'm pressing this. If anything happens to me, carry this on, because I'm telling you, we've got to the level where we're finding out the radiation we're getting. Now, again, not all Bigfoots. Mm-hmm. You have to understand that somehow in time, either by human hand or by coming in and out of dimensions, and some staying and some not, and yada yada, back and back. I said, cut it out. That, I mean it, dude. You do not want to play with me. That's not a challenge. That is a promise. So here's, this is it. There's something going on with this eyes, this energy, because if it's in ghosts, it's in dogmen, it's in elementals, and probably many other things.
And I wondered, and you
energy connection
touched on this briefly, but all this stuff seems to be ramping up. But you think about everything you just mentioned: radiation, the 5G towers, high tension power lines, all those things emit radio frequencies and things. Is that what's causing things to ramp up?
And it's connected to all of these CERN type situations and everything. You cannot tell me this is by accident here. These things are ramping up, and that's why I wanted to find out from Lon.
Particle accelerator either. That's just the best known one.
Right. And what's going on in a lot of these things that you think is one thing. Denver Airport, hello. You think that's the only place? And that's just one where they're being so obvious about it. It's not even funny.
And there's supposedly a tunnel under there that goes to, I can't remember the research lab, government lab, but it's lots and lots of feet underground.
And people, we got to open your eyes, release it up here. Okay.
Yeah, there I went again.
Yep. Somebody doesn't want you in here. I don't know what this is.
Well, there we are again.
Wow. Hello. Boy, you got big. Oh, wow. That's fun. Jiminy Christmas. So yeah, that's the big thing. And these things can see infrared because stop it.
All right, Cisco, you're doing that, aren't you?
I'm not.
You're trying to psyop me.
Here's my hands.
I'm just playing with you.
And I mean, I'd have to reach out and touch the screen. You'd see me doing it if it was a touch screen thing. And I don't have my hands on my mouse. There, I moved it. There we go. So I'm not doing it. But that's wild. So these things can see infrared. Remember I told you the one about the jet was out and they were doing reconnaissance and stuff like that, and they were running the laser, and this thing saw the laser right when he hit the button. I mean, hadn't even got there yet. You know what I mean? And it covered his eyes, like it would burn his eyes. So now they figured out with the trail cams why you're not getting, because they know they're there. They know they're there. They know the dogmen know they're there. They're getting some, but they'll get.
That was something I wanted to mention when Lon was on, but we went in so many different directions.
All over. Yeah,
these visits that paranormal witnesses, particularly UFO witnesses, get from 3-letter agencies. A lot of times they'll show up to talk to the witness before the witness has even told anybody about it, or they'll get a phone call. I've read accounts where somebody just saw something, came back home, and the phone rings. They picks it up, and it's somebody saying, "Don't tell anybody what you saw." So they know that you saw it.
And there's something so big going on with the creature.
Octopus with 1,000 tentacles. With
the creature knowing, and like I said, with the trail cams and stuff, because they're always joking, say, how come we can't get a clear picture? And you and I did the thing on, the frequencies, and Bowden came on and we talked all about the frequencies and the vibration and all that stuff. That's all part of it too. But it's also a knowing. They know they're there because they can see the infrared. So this guy now camps with 4 infrared trail cam cameras outside of his tent and around to protect his perimeter, so they don't come and bother his tent, because they don't want their picture taken. So they tend to stay away from that. So he literally said, if you're out in the woods or something, put these trail cams around your house, and that'll keep them from coming in and looking in your windows. And maybe it might have stopped, I don't know, but that dogman story where he goes in and tears up his house and he only left when he knew he had a gun.
And they can see those cameras because they have an infrared or similar light source, and that projects out whatever this thing is. That's within the spectrum it can see.
Seems to be it.
Same with your TV remote.
Yes,
you can point a TV remote at those cameras, and you'll see that flash. That depending on the type of remote, of course.
That might just be the thing. Take a TV remote to the woods, people.
Yeah, and see if you can mute it. Change the channel.
So you need a gun, you need a machete, you need a GPS locator, you need
and
a
good
paper
universal remote. We may be onto
You don't
something
see it.
there. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude. Good. I mean, this is crazy, but I love digging up this new stuff and seeing how there's another piece, there's another piece, there's another piece. And that's why I think it's good when we do these ghost stories and stuff like that. And we take them apart, we talk about them, and we watch how we progress through the story. Like right away, we'll start thinking, oh, I think I know where this is going. And sometimes it does, but sometimes it takes that hard left.
That left and right
And
into
you're like,
the
I
unknown
live for
territory.
those
We're like,
hard lefts, baby.
yeah.
And
We've had some on here,
again,
that one where we thought, oh, it's an evil spirit and it's doing this, and
yeah.
it was just some old guy that was lonely, and he was
Yeah.
doing that to get attention. So
yeah, and
there
I
you
got
go.
to say, just for my listeners who would know that I would do this, and I would try to say this as eloquently as possible. When I say this, I am not disagreeing with Lon. I'm just saying that I've been in this a long time too, and I think, and I certainly don't have the information he does or the data when it comes to Chicago, but I'm going to stand on my thought that I believe these beings, if they are drawn by any kind of negativity, when you put that kind of energy out, and I know that Lon understands this as well, that kind of stuff in Chicago, and look, this is all, it's a sacrifice. I don't care who's in charge of it. That's what it is. They don't let any good death go to waste. So whether it's Green Eyes over in what was that by Chickamauga? Wasn't it Chickamauga, Steve? What the heck?
If you
This
want
has
me
been
to
the
answer, you're
roughest,
going to have to leave me on camera. The
roughest
old
ever.
Green Eyes, that was
Yeah.
the monster that they
Sucking
saw there on it's
the
near
negative
Reed
energy.
Tower, which is on Snodgrass Hill. But there were reports that they had seen that creature in there while the battle was still
Yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
floating
Yeah.
amongst the dead and dying. So there you
So,
go. It's something
is it,
drawing
can we,
from that.
yeah, can we prove it? Can we say, I understand, I don't believe it's a harbinger either. They say that the Mothman is, I believe, is a completely separate deal there. But, and again, it could be of a species that broke off and, evolved in a different way because of, area and, geography, whatever elements. But I don't believe it's a harbinger. I believe it's there because there's a lot of fear and loosh and other things around. Now, whether it's built up 2017, that was a very violent year. Very violent year. I mean, we had people, all around in the cities, the riots and just anytime you have that, doesn't even have to be actual bloodshed. It's just the angst and the anger and the arguing and the thing.
Well, think about that. Maybe, there was a good fight out in the parking lot of that biker
Right.
bar, and it released energy, and now there's something out there roaming around, snapping
Right.
people's car antennas off.
who
knows?
Maybe they're there and, and they're feeding. Maybe
Yep.
in some way they're contributing to that violence, egging it on, so to speak, either telepathically or whatever. Again, I just listened to a story the other day. It was actually a Dead Files, and Amy was talking about it, and it was this thing, it had been there, when it was just the land. I mean, it had affected everything that had ever lived on that land as far back as you could go. And I assure you, it didn't stop there, probably way back, right? But the people in this house, when they started digging on the history, they had found out there had been something like 9 suicides in this house. There had been so many suicides in this house. I think 3 people killed themselves with the same gun. Now I know I'm going to get banged for that, but boy, if we didn't get turned orange by now, they're not going to do it. So, I mean, it's just insane. And, she's trying to explain to these people this thing, it's not even fully developed yet. It's using this to get developed. It's growing. It's got nothing but time. It wants to eventually be its own thing, whatever, she's describing. And it's like, well, is it dangerous? Yes, it's dangerous. So far, I've got right down here. It's killed 9 people, that she knows of. And then there was a
but
guy that was like,
can't hurt you. I mean, it can
No,
make you hurt yourself.
it's
but
insane.
trying to get out of there.
There
But
was 3 people there in the house that had appendicitis, so appendicitis surgery. And I believe that's more of an older person, at least mature.
mhm.
And then their child living in this active house right now is 3 years old, just had her appendicitis. taken out.
Yeah. There was a
That's
house like
unheard of.
that close to where I went to high school. A young child had passed away from leukemia there, and just incredible,
Yeah.
tragedy. But after that, they could not keep that house rented. The people would move in there and then they'd be out just in no time. There was something there that would drive people away. Just
And making
but
people
it
sick.
started
And
with that the dying screams, if you will, of that little boy. Which I mean,
oh,
it's so sad. But
terrible.
there you go.
Yeah. And again,
Whatever
that doesn't mean that the boy is
came
there.
to,
That could just be an
yeah,
echo,
there was something that
a residual
that
energy
came
left
to
behind.
feed
Could
off
be.
that pain, that energy.
Yeah. And I know many people, his last name, he's another guy that I listened to for decades, and his big thing, he started it. Now it's him and his son, and now it's him and his son and his grandson. They go and they do battlefield rescues, much like the chapter of Gettysburg in the book Steve and I did. That, if you haven't read the book, is We Are All Children in the Wilderness of the Afterlife, a guided tour through a haunted life. And there's a chapter in there on Gettysburg, and I explain a little bit about this, but anytime he goes, he expects to see, because he can see when he's trying to cross over these soldiers that are still going through their death state. There are not only other entity, human ghosts there that don't want you to do it. There are entities that have never been human that do not want you to do it, that you're fighting, and alien beings there. So why are all of them there? He has seen that. He has seen cryptids. He's seen like the praying mantis type deals. Lots of these like humanoid or shadow type people. And they're all like, no, you know why? They don't want you to close the buffet. They're feeding on the negativity and the suffering and the anxiety of these ghosts. And it's a sad thing, but when you back up and you look at the whole picture and you have this knowledge that you can see all of this working, then you know why Lon and Steve and I and many people that have been on this show will tell you, if you're going to go out there, have protection. And boy, you better believe in that protection, or you might as well just throw a slipper at it. And what you come out of there with, and again, I don't know too many people that do active investigations and active battles like this who do not give up precious minutes, months, days, years, we don't know, on our own lives to help the living and cross the dead. It's not a game.
Excuse me.
Right, Steve?
Yeah, it's the hour, not the company. But yeah, that's exactly right.
That's right. Well, I think we wrapped it up, buddy. I will see you tomorrow night. I don't know what we're talking about, but
Yeah,
I
I was going to say,
guarantee
do you know what we're talking about? But it'll be a trip, guaranteed.
it'll be a trip. It's going to be something nice and easy. I can't do a lot of extra research these past couple weeks because, again, the florist is just banging. And I spent probably the last 3 weeks making grave blankets and funeral sprays. So next week, hopefully I'll be able to get in there and make centerpieces for the lovely people who are still living. God bless them, and celebrating the holidays. And if you were celebrating, however you're celebrating, I hope you'll join us here for whatever shows we've got. I'm trying to throw up some stuff in the middle. I'm working on another Hercule Poirot and another mystery and a nice surprise I can hope I have done by Christmas for you guys, because I love being able to do those and coming in the chat with you and chatting with you and stuff like that. It's been a lot of fun, but they're a lot of time to put together. Last one was 11 hours and 4 minutes.
Wow.
That's how long it took me to do an hour and 20-minute video, but it's fun and I love doing it.
That's the same on videos on Among the Missing. There's stuff I've worked on
so
for
much work.
A couple of days over there, have maybe 300-400 edits. I put this in, I put that in, I do all the fades and wipes and the sounds. And but
people don't realize it.
War, God help me, but I love it so.
I love it so. Yes, absolutely. So, and it's so much fun to see you guys enjoy it, and you coming back and saying, "Oh, that movie, I remember it." You're seeing it in a little different light, and I think it's lovely with this Lux Theater that I found these people. Like I said, it's public domain, so they're lost to time. Some of them were done in 1934, 1937. That It's a Wonderful Life, I think, was 1934, and it's beautiful. You get to hear Jimmy Stewart up there talking, they're back and forth with Donna Reed and stuff, and they're just being themselves, and it's lovely, an added little bonus. And maybe it'll take you away, or maybe when you're making Christmas cookies, wrapping presents, or shopping in the car, or whatever. Listen to them and let your kids watch them too, because a lot of these shows, they're getting lost. And the kids aren't getting to see them. So maybe this is a way too that they can enjoy it. You can enjoy it with them.
34th Street.
Yeah,
Even
that's the
some
one
of the
coming up.
modern movies. We watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for Thanksgiving.
Share that with them.
Home Alone. And we watched all the children, the animated classics. We watched Rudolph and Frosty, and she'd never seen Charlie Brown Christmas, and just
it's wonderful.
Those were our childhood.
You gotta watch.
And you got one chance
Marty.
to watch it when it was on. Then, if you missed it, you didn't get
that
to
was
see
it.
it next year.
Now
there was no VCR, no
Harvey.
Yeah,
she's got to see Harvey. Arsenic and Old Lace.
Mr. Limpet with Don Knotts.
Yes, the incredible Mr. Limpet. Ghost of Mr. Chicken. All of those.
Some good old stuff that's just lost to the mist.
You've got stuff forever. You got stuff forever. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And I'm digging up a lot of old ones too, like Holiday Affair. That was a great one, and different ones like that. So I'm trying to bring that to you as well. I hope you guys enjoy them. And, it's been lovely spending time with you guys. I look forward to this all the time. I am working on a couple. My big research, what I'm doing now is Elliot Ness. I think that'll be very interesting.
The Untouchables.
Yes, I think but I think that's going to be a big block, Steve. I'm going to need you for it, because I think that one's going to be fun, because we got the Torso murders in there. We got all kinds of stuff.
You got the one case that stumped him that he couldn't solve, and that was basically that ended his career. And the way he handled it at the end too was kind of weird. So we're going to bring all that stuff up, and I'm working on a couple other things, but let's get each other through the holiday season here. It's been wonderful tonight, and I thank Lon for coming on. I've got some other things scheduled, and we'll see how they all lay out. But next week, tomorrow night I'm going to see you, and then next week, I guess I was going to say it doesn't change my title, does it? I'm still just mom. But see if we can't get you back on the radio show again before Christmas if you've got time.
I'd love to. I'll tell my wonderful Christmas ghost stories. I've got a couple of those.
Pick a theme, pick a topic, and we'll grab and run with it.
I might be able to dig up a word or two. What do you think, Steve? I don't think we're in any kind of danger. I hadn't run out yet. All right. But listen, guys, thank you so much for being in here. If you have not subscribed, please do. Like I said, we're an acquired taste, but we're not going to lie to you. We're going to tell you the truth, and we're going to try to sort this as best we can. Have a pretty good time.
Kind of the Roquefort cheese of the paranormal world.
There you go. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it, the blue cheese. So I'm some moldy cheese, but I'll tell you what, if it's put together right, it makes a hell of a dip. So there you go. Enjoy that. I love you all. See y'all here tomorrow night. We don't know what we're talking about, but we'll figure it out when we get there.
Come up with something.
And Steve, give us the name of your channels one more time while I pull up a little.
Among the
get
Missing,
out of here.
From Beyond, True Crime Breakdown. That one's in remission right now. Insomniac Radio Theater, and of course 13 Past Midnight.
Sounds
and the new show, the new segment, Midnight Mailbox. Send in your stories for that one. And like I said, I just published my 19th book, 20 if you count hours. Go see me on Amazon. Or if you want signed copies directly from me, I have them on my Etsy shop. And I'll mail them right out to you. Signed, personalized, and I'll put you some cool stickers. Tuck them inside
there you
here
go.
too. So
get some stickers in your stocking for the holidays. I love you all. And good night, Steve. Good night, Mrs. Stockton. And everybody be safe. And keep yourself above that line. Don't let them drag you down. I love you all. Keep your feet under the covers. Closet door shut.
Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Casey Kasem.
There you go. Did I get it? Is it going to work? Yay! Good night, Steve. Love you, baby.
Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.